What's up, guys? Hope you all had an awesome Christmas and all that stuff. I don't know if anyone will be in here or whatever. I just wanted to keep keep consistent, and it might not be as long depending on uh, the crowd if I get any, because of the holidays and stuff. But I just wanted to be consistent and know that almost every Tuesday I will be doing the CassMac chat stuff. There's not been a lot of news collectively across baseball, but the Braves have been silent for about 9 days or so, which is an eternity for what our off season has been. But there was a little bit of possible relocation news. Hey, Matt. The Mississippi Braves may be moving to Columbus, Georgia in 2025. Not probably, I don't know the validity and the truth to the article, but it just mentions it as a possibility. But that's pretty much the big news for the Braves in the last week. Mitch Garver did sign a 2-year, $24 million deal with the Seattle Mariners, which actually makes their DH catcher combo pretty awesome, with Cal Raleigh and Mitch Garver. And today, Kevin Kiermaier re-signed with the Toronto Blue Jays, 1 year, $10.5 million. I don't know if that takes them out of the Bellinger sweepstakes or not. But Bellinger is seeking $200 million from the last report I got there. But the other thing, I wrote my season in review article for battery power, and mine were Raisel Iglesias and Dylan Lee. And somebody commented on the article today and said that Raisel Iglesias isn't a high leverage reliever, which I thought was pretty funny and not true. He's been one of the best closers in the game the last 4 or 5 years, so I thought that was very interesting. Yeah. Plus, I think Bellinger was projected for 264 on the MLB trade rumor thingy, which is I wouldn't pay that. He'll probably get it, but I wouldn't pay that, given that he hasn't necessarily put consistency together after 2019, and then the shoulder injury, and then he put it together in 2020 last year with the Cubs. He might actually end up back with the Cubs. That's kind of the only thing that makes sense. But I'm not quite sure on that. But that's my consensus as well. On Bellinger, and it's been really interesting that it's, as an off season, it's been pretty much, I mean, there's big moves here or there, but like the off season has consisted of the Dodgers making moves, the Braves making moves, trades and things, and yeah. So MLB trade rumors, I think they're solid, but I think they overvalue free agents clearly. So, but it's funny. The Dodgers and the Braves are really making moves. Obviously, the Dodgers are making the splashier, break the internet type of moves, and the Braves have kind of, as Hudson put it last week, kind of fixed the fringe issues. And obviously, again, we still need a starter, in my opinion. But the Dodgers, Braves making moves. The St. Louis Cardinals made like 3 pitching moves in a 2-day span, getting Sonny Gray, Lance Lynn, and Kyle Gibson, but they didn't really do anything else. The Juan Soto trade was big for the Yankees, but they haven't done necessarily in Verdugo, but they haven't done necessarily anything else. Traded 7 pitchers within their farm system. There was a smaller trade today. Florio, Esteban Florio, who crushes it in AAA and has crushed it for the Yankees in AAA for years, but has just couldn't put it together at the major league level. He got traded to the Cleveland Guardians for a pitcher that I think had like a 6.75 ERA. So the Yankees haven't done much. The Giants, made the Lee move, I believe. The Royals have actually been one of the more active teams, which is kind of strange, with the Michael Wacha, old friend Will Smith, 1 year, $5 million, and the Michael Wacha was 2 years, $32 million with an opt-out, and people have said that could be an interesting trade candidate if the Royals wanted to. And then the Lugo won I think it was 345, and then the Will Smith won 5. The Astros haven't done much. They got Victor Caratini, backup catcher, on a 2-year deal, which I think I really like. But that probably spells the end of Martin Maldonado era in Houston. And I think they're kind of at a crossroads, which is weird. Let's see. The Angels have made a couple of reliever moves. Which free agents would I like to see us sign? I feel like Jordan Montgomery may be in our price range. Maybe, but he had a breakout year, so I don't know. But I think it really comes down to pitching, and Snell I don't see, because Alex Anthopoulos hates walk rate, and he has a lot of that, even though he was able to dance through the fire a lot last year en route to the Cy Young. The other Japanese pitcher that you mentioned last week would probably be a solid get. Urmaya or whatever. But I feel like it's gonna be a trade. But that also, probably 85% going to be a trade because I don't know that there's a lot of veteran guys out there. Shane Bieber scares me because of his injury. Dylan Cease, not that consistent, but if that happens, okay, it just depends on the package for me. And if he'll sign an extension, obviously. I'm wondering what the Brewers are going to do because you've got Corbin Burns and maybe Freddie Peralta. It looked like they were they're in kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, whether to completely rebuild or try one more time given the way the Central is. If I knew like the more veteran guys, maybe we get another one of those, but I'm drawing a blank on those guys. I really am for some reason. Kevin Pillar, I wouldn't mind re-upping him, or if there's a little bit better version of Kevin Pillar. Eddie Rosario's still out there. Yeah, that's the guy I don't know how to say his last name. That would be interesting. But again, I think we talked about it last week. We're just not very. We don't usually dip our toe into the Japanese market under Alex Anthopoulos, but those numbers and those peripherals I would not mind them one bit. Definitely, and we love the strikeout. I'll have to. That's Imanaga. I obviously didn't major in Japanese, but yeah, if he led the Japanese league in strikeouts and it's a reasonable price for the Braves, I would jump at the chance at that. But it just feels like it's gonna be a trade. Maybe a Mitch Keller, even though I think that No. The Braves have not signed a Japanese player since Kenshin Kawakami. No, we have not. I want us to, possibly with Imanaga, but I don't see it because Alex Anthopoulos really hasn't dipped into the Japanese market as a that's not the avenue he goes. But maybe a Mitch Keller, because the Braves see Mitch Keller well, but everybody else he's pretty solid. I'm just trying to think. Maybe we go back to the Mariners. I'm not sure. They seem to be cutting payroll kind of thing. But I feel like it's more likely a trade if we're going to add to the starting rotation. No, the Braves did not make any moves today. Just kind of recapping the very slow version. Slow version of the off season that we are in. I'm actually surprised, like Cody Bellinger, Blake Snell, all those kind of guys haven't signed yet. But then I'm also not surprised because it's Scott Boras, so most of them are Scott Boras's clients. I heard Clayton Kershaw was being talked to by the Texas Rangers. I think that I think I think Clayton Kershaw should hang it up, to be honest with you, but I don't know that moves the needle either. But with Max Scherzer being out half of the year with shoulder, yeah, I think Dylan Cease is not the ideal guy. Given our prospect pool is light and top heavy, I don't think that like I said, if we sign him to an extension, maybe okay, that makes a little bit more sense. But a guy with a 4.5 ERA outside of that one really good year, I don't know if that's worth it, short term and long term, because our prospect pool is just so light and top heavy. Like I said, it's gonna cost a lot, and it's one of those things that it's a bit scary, so to speak. Oh, and that I knew there was another move that I forgot. The San Diego Padres signed that Japanese closer to a 5-year, $28 million deal, if I'm not mistaken. Those were the numbers. Yeah, that's the thing about Cease, that he probably would sign an extension, but are you going to be able to get the consistency that you need as a 1-2 punch with Strider? I don't know, because Strider and Cease kind of have the same repertoire, so I don't know if that necessarily pays off in terms of opponents seeing the same type of pitch sequencing, type of pitches, things of that nature. But I'm not saying I wouldn't love Cease. I think him being in the same rotation with Strider, because they're similar, I think that could help Cease. And Rick Kranitz has done a nice job with people. I just don't know the cost, but with the cost, but maybe with the extension possibility and probably a little bit bigger possibility because he's from Georgia. I don't hate it, but again, it's depends on the package, and I guess the longer the White Sox wait, maybe the price tag will go down. Maybe. I don't know that for a fact, but yeah. I'm surprised Eddie Rosario hasn't gone to. I figured Eddie Rosario would be gone to the Angels by now, but Jorge Soler is still out there. That's an interesting one. Free agent wise, we're not going to sign him, but I just think that's an interesting free agent thing for him because he's great, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy, and the strikeout bug got him a little bit more this season. It's just kind of a really slow time, and it's a little surprising given the prized. Well, then Soler is probably on the same track, but it's a little surprising that we haven't seen a little more movement after Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto off the market. You would think that would open things up a little bit, but the majority of the bigger free agents left are Scott Boras clients, so maybe that's a indicator there. I'm not sure. That's Yeah, that's pretty much all the news. I mean, I'm gonna be interested to see uh, how the bullpen shakes out and how Ronaldo Lopez, if he actually is gonna be a viable starting option, or we throw him in the Colin McHugh role. I have no idea. It feels like it's a. I would like him more in the Colin McHugh role, but it is cheap if he is able to be effective in the starting rotation at $10 million per year at 3 years for Ronaldo Lopez. So that's probably my most intriguing guy to watch in spring training. And then obviously Hurston Waldrop. I don't know if Isaiah Drake may finally get a invite to spring training. That'll be a intriguing piece as well. I don't know if he's old enough yet. I think I think everybody is the strikeout rate. Soler had the strikeout rate. Eddie Rosario had the strikeout rate when he came over. I think everybody, I mean, Kevin Seitzer knows what he's doing. The strikeout rate's there, obviously, but in a new system, in a new clubhouse, in a new environment, the strikeout rates are always going to be concerning when they're high, but I'm not even going to worry about it until I see him in a Braves uniform, and he probably won't be pressing as much because he doesn't have to be the guy. Like I've said a ton on these things. So I think strikeouts are annoying and they stink. But again, I think everybody is in a wait and see, or at least I'm in a wait and see mentality with Jared Kelenic as a whole, because we don't know what he's going to be when he gets ingrained into our philosophy, our organization, and that sort of thing. So I'm just kind of cautiously optimistic that it's going to be fine. Yeah, Joseph, it's not going to. I read that it probably won't happen until 2025, but I think moving is geographically, it would be perfect for a major league team because you've got Gwinnett, Rome, and Columbus in the same state, and Atlanta, and all of it being in the same state. I think that'll help scouts. That'll help the continuity of the organization. That'll probably help facilitate moves, faster moves that is needed. Grisham, again, I think it's a square peg round hole thing with Grisham at this point. I think his bat plays. I don't know if numbers are numbers, and they matter, obviously, but I think you kind of got to take numbers with a grain of salt, because obviously Grisham's bat plays and the power will probably come, but if can Grisham get comfortable in left field, and I don't think comfortable in the utility role, especially with Fletcher probably going to be, and he may be traded. I don't know, but he's got real money, real quality experience as a utility player, used to moving all over the place and not affecting his offensive ability. So I think with a 91% contact rate, Grisham kind of Fletcher kind of fits that role. So honestly, Vaughn Grisham, his bat is his best tool at the moment, and I haven't heard anything about his playing left field in the Winter League or whatever. So I don't know, but the writing feels on the wall that if we do make a big trade for a starting pitcher or something, that Vaughn Grisham will be involved. But like I said, I don't want to speak too much on Kelenic and the numbers because I haven't seen him on a daily basis, and obviously all of that stuff. So his numbers are his numbers. But I think you also have to put the human element in there, because when you start pressing, you start struggling, you start trying to do too much, and I think that's where Kelenic was, and the inconsistencies and the different messages from the Mariners organization probably messed up his head more than he'd like to admit. And then he was trying to prove them wrong for leaving him down further, manipulating service time, all that stuff. So, and when you start pressing, you try to do too much, the strikeout rate goes up, all of that stuff. It's a possibility, I think, but Alex Anthopoulos that's an interesting idea, using Grisham as a DH, but I think but his power numbers don't equate himself to a DH, so it's a possibility. I just, it's an out of the box possibility, and Alex Anthopoulos has been pretty adamant that he wants to add and not subtract, even though I know Ozuna can possibly come off the books next year. I don't think power wise, I don't think Grisham works as a DH, but it's definitely an out of box thought. And yes, Joseph, I hope that David Fletcher kind of gets a resurgence in terms of the health of it all for him, because 91% contact rate, and he was one of the better players for the Angels for a while until the injury bug got him, and most versatile and most complete hitter for them, and he gives you a lot. But again, it's only the day after Christmas, so the roster is probably still a lot in flux. And by February and March, it may look a lot different. Who knows? But as of right now, I'm really happy at where the Braves sit, and despite all of the splashy moves the Dodgers have made. What position would I try to play him at? I think he's much better at second base than anything, because I just don't see him as a viable shortstop. Second base or left field, if I'm being honest. But again, the power numbers don't usually are weird, because in the minors he doesn't have a lot of that, but sometimes that develops. That's why I say that Von Grisham at DH doesn't necessarily make sense, but sometimes guys have a power surge when they hit Major League Baseball. So, but I think I would try him at second base. But he would be a perfect utility. He's got the body. He's got the shortstops can play anywhere type of thing. So utility is probably his. If you could make the skill set for yourself as a baseball player, especially for what Von Grisham already is, utility would be perfect. But again, you can't just you can't just ideal. But yeah, the Panthers look really good Sunday, and I think that's the glimmers of hope that we're all looking for, given how bad this season has gone. Bryce Young looked like the truth on Sunday. I didn't think that Russell Dobbs thing was a catch at all. It's not. I didn't think it was a catch, and I thought we had a second left, but the second left, that's a little more iffy, and I see that one. But the Dobbs catch was not a catch, but I digress. Bryce Young looked amazing. I would love to have Amir Smith-Marset back. Thomas Brown looked really good play calling wise. The only thing that annoyed me was the 4th and 2 in the first half. That we went for it and the play clock was running down. We didn't take a timeout and just kind of ran into a brick wall there. That was the only thing that was kind of annoying. But Bryce Young made some stellar throws, and I think that's what and Adam Thielen, if he wants to stick around, and we kind of build some pieces around. I'm really excited about that possibility. But I'll try to incorporate some Panther themed chats on my other channel. At some point, I'm trying to balance a lot of things. Yeah, I know a lot of Falcons fans that feel the same way you do, and I also get it. But you can't tell players to not try to win. It's just it's not feasible. Taylor Heineke looked good, but I think you guys would benefit from getting rid of Arthur Smith no matter what happens. And I think the Bucks, Tampa is on a heater, and they look really good. So I don't think you're going to make the playoffs anyway. But that's just my opinion, and I get it. The Panthers have done that too, at times, where the year that Joe Burrow got drafted, I wanted to be bad to be able to get Joe Burrow, but it didn't work out that way. It's just how sports goes, because you can't tell professional athletes not to try hard, not to have pride, not to win. And technically, the Falcons still have a chance at the division, so it makes kind of sense there. But if we were able to make everything perfect for all our teams, and get the exact scenario we all want, it would be unrealistic. So it's just what it is, and I'm pretty sure this quarterback class is one of the deeper ones. So I think you might be able to find a diamond in the rough type of guy. Yeah, I mean, the philosophies for football is, it just depends on the team's philosophy and the and I think Arthur Smith's philosophies. Yeah, that's unfortunate, Joseph. Yeah, it's maybe we can win the next two and knock out Chicago at the first pick. It sucks. That's what makes this year even more annoying, that we've sucked so bad for the most part, even though you're seeing glimmers and diamonds of little hope. It's just unfortunate, and I think that Scott Fitterer, our GM, needs to go. Yeah, that's not good. Because I think you need a staff to be able to bounce things off. So that's a little weird that you don't have an OC, but it's insane how much better we have looked, the Panthers, under Chris Tabor. It just seems like there's more continuity than there was with Frank Reich, and seeing Bryce Young do what he did Sunday. And I know the Packers aren't the greatest defense in the world, but just some of those throws were dynamic and amazing. And if we get the right pieces around him, the continuity, and finally a coach that we all can get behind, and gets behind Bryce Young, and doesn't try to stunt Bryce Young, which now watching Bryce Young now without Frank Reich, it feels like that happened. And nothing against Frank Reich, it just didn't look right. And I know Bryce hasn't played great at times this year at all, with the turnover bug and things of that nature. Yeah, Ben Johnson, that's a great offensive mind. I actually would like Mike McDonald, maybe the Ravens defensive coordinator. I've heard his name pop up. Ben Johnson wants $15 million per year, though. I don't know if that's although I don't think when you hire a coach, it doesn't count against the salary cap, so that's a positive. But I've said this many a time on podcasts and stuff, in my channel and whatnot. If we don't fire Scott Fitterer, our GM, I don't think that it matters who our head coach is, because I think that because I don't think you're cleaning slate and giving the new guy a chance to establish himself. So that's all I'll say on that. Yeah. Julie, people are gonna be mad at everything. I've said this before. I think if we went 182-0, that is including playoffs, people would still complain about something. And I mean, the Dodgers have spent $1 billion in the last like 3 moves they've made, and good for them. And but yeah, you're right. The Braves have more of a set and cohesive and younger roster than the Dodgers have. The Dodgers have a great team now that they kind of bought it, which you can do. So I'm not putting that on them, but they've got a lot more age, and Max Muncy is not the greatest third baseman anymore. So they're great on paper, but again, you don't play on paper. And the Braves have really done a nice job of worrying about the current situation and future, especially with the position players. So I'm really happy with where the Braves sit. And like I said earlier, I think Hudson put it best last week. The Braves, yes, have a major starting pitching move probably needed to be made, and hopefully it will. But we've addressed a lot of the fringe issues, and things that issues that popped up last year that I don't think we were expecting. So now we have a bushel full of quality left-handers coming out of the bullpen that can have a multitude of roles, because we ran out of left-handers last year. You got Tyler Matze coming back. You got Aaron Bummer. You got Ray Kerr. And those guys have multitudes of years of control. So that's an issue that you address. Yes, Wander Franco is in big trouble. That's just a unfortunate, gross, terrible situation that he's put himself in, and it gives me the chilly willies that he did all that. And I hope everybody involved in that is okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, see, that's why that's why all the Dodgers moves, they're flashy, they're amazing, they're blah, but you still got to play the games on paper, and injuries are still a massive part of things. You don't know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen. And yeah, the Dodgers down the road are not in a good spot. They are in a good spot right now, but again, super teams, and the Dodgers may be able to pull it off this year and a few years down the road. But if they don't, you're right, heads, and it'll be the most underwhelming. It'll be even more underwhelming than the 90s Braves if they aren't able to win multiple World Series in this stretch, in my opinion. And honestly, the 90s Braves, because winning World Series is hard no matter what kind of team you put together. So, but the way the Dodgers are constructed, if they don't win multiple, it's gonna be insane, and I'm gonna love it if they don't. That's right. They deferred $18 million of Freddie's contract. Jeez. I guess that's why most teams don't defer contracts, because it comes back to bite you down the road. And that's once again why I like the way the Braves do it, because I think it saves you in the present, future, and even beyond when a lot of your players are gone. Well, you just, again, if the Dodgers win, good for them. And hats off to them of how they've been able to do things. That's it's definitely a talking point, and something that's going to be fun to follow. But there's 31 other or 29 other teams fighting for the same goal. So, and a lot of things can happen. A lot of different things can happen. So, but yeah, like I said, I just prefer the way the Braves have done it, because it protects you from not having to count for previous moves in your future teams. But it's what it is. Teams put together their teams in many different ways, and you win in many different ways. Every game you win differently. So, and if every team was put together the same way, sports would be not as much fun. So I think we all have our opinions on every single team and how it's been done, but I'm just glad there's versatility, differences in every single team, in the prospects, the young, or the veterans, the superstars, all that stuff. I do prefer superstars to be spread out in the league, just because I think it's better for the sport, whatever sport you're talking about. But you can't fault the want to come play with superstars. Yeah, I mean, and like I said, it's only the day after Christmas, and a lot of teams and a lot of things can change. And getting into the playoffs is only the first step. Obviously, with the new playoff format, things have not worked out for the higher seeds, and you just never know. So again, I've said that a lot this stream, but that's why sports is interesting, because the underdog stories, the stories of the backup QB, the backup this, the backup that, the Eddie Rosario magically turning into Babe Ruth against the Dodgers, the Tyler Matzeks of the world. Like, you just don't know, and that's the beauty of sports. And obviously, the Dodgers are going to be talked about ad nauseum, and they deserve that because they put this roster together. But it's going to be an interesting, the chemistry and continuity, if it's going to still be there, and that's another thing I appreciate about the Braves. Alex Anthopoulos hates the word culture. But I think we have one of the best cultures. And yes, Julie, I did see the Mississippi rumor. I did a video on it. I think that it'll be good for the geographically, the continuity for scouts and players and families and all of that. It could be possibly a good thing. Plus, Mississippi is that stadium is 10 to 15 years old. So in Mississippi, well, that would be good for you. You can go see a lot of our prospects. So I think it would be a good thing. I don't know, but obviously our minor league system has gone through a lot of rebranding and a lot of retooling over the last couple of years. So we'll see, but I think it could be a good thing. A couple of the other prospects that I didn't mention earlier, I'm wondering Owen Murphy, if they're still on a roster, obviously, because a lot of things could still happen. But Owen Murphy is an interesting one to see if he'll climb. J.R. Ritchie, I don't know about his injury issue. Injury issues, but he's one or more of our highly touted prospects. And also, I think Joseph said earlier, Maldonado is going to the White Sox. I think that's what you said. So that's an interesting one. I think they're doing a nice job of like getting veterans, but I don't know exactly their direction. Is it 1 foot in, 1 foot out with the possibility of trading Cease? But if you trade Cease, you're kind of resetting. And I guess that's the way we did it with like the Nick Markakises, the Nick Swishers, the Shelby Miller, all of that stuff. So maybe they're going that route. I don't know, but it's interesting for sure for the White Sox. And I do hope that Nicky Lopez and Jared Schuster and Michael Soroka get a fresh start and succeed on the South Side for sure. Yeah, all of it'll be great for the entire sports landscape and there. So, but I unfortunately I'm still not. No, I want to keep Ajusa, Shelver, and Waldrop to probably more than Bryce Elder, because I think Bryce Elder, I'm terrible at speculating, but Bryce Elder kind of hit a wall last year after his All-Star first half, and I don't. and I think Waldrop and AJ Smith-Shawver have more of a margin for error with their stuff. Possibly. But also you still need those veteran or more seasoned type of guys like Bryce Elder that have been through the wall, that have kind of gone through trying to figure out how their arm's going to react to the longness of the MLB season, and putting that much pressure on AJ Smith-Shawver and Hurston Waldrop when they haven't been through it could be a detriment to them. So that's why you keep that depth. And another interesting guy to look at is Oscar Inoue. I don't know what role he plays, but it feels like that's a possibility as well. He's been through the MLB season grind. He's been through that, been through injuries, been through it all. So he has more of a grasp of the MLB and what it does to your body and things of that nature. Just hope he doesn't, if he gets a chance again, just doesn't punch any benches. But I feel like he could have a big impact in 2024 if he's still around. As maybe a hybrid or as maybe a starter, because those breaking balls, both of them were deadly when he was at his peak. So Oscar Inoue is another guy to possibly look at as a starter, a trade piece, or a hybrid pitcher for the Braves. Who knows? But if he makes it in spring training, to see him again, to see what he has, is going to be a very interesting proposition. But I think Bryce Elder could be a trade guy because you've seen the greatness, but you've also seen that he doesn't have as much margin for error. But again, he has a little more experience than Hurston Waldrop and AJ Smith-Shawver to fall back on when the grinding gets tough and you have a rough stretch in your season. And he's more equipped to deal with that in a way, and to deal with failure, because most of the time baseball is how you deal with failure more so than how you deal with success, even though both of those things are vitally important. So that's my take on the elder of it all. But like I said a lot too, prospects are prospects until they're not. I even forgot about Ian Anderson. He's not coming back till June probably with his Tommy John, but he was so. So, and they still could be. Ian Anderson still has one of the best changeups I've ever seen. Just he nibbles too much, and I hope the Tommy John and all of that stuff kind of helps him get a reset, because I think he's still viably there and could be a vital piece. But again, Anderson, Elder, those guys could be in a big trade. Who knows? Because we never know what Alex Anthopoulos has up his sleeve. But it's always fun to watch, fun to fun to speculate, even though I'm kind of terrible at it. Perdomo will, I think he's out for the 2024 season with Tommy John, but I think he has like 4 or 5 years of control, so he could be part of the plans. Well, I think AJ Puck, I just don't think he's found his footing. I think he's better as a reliever. But I can't fault us drafting Ian Anderson. He's been clutch in the playoffs. And he has one of the best ERAs in the playoffs. And he's still really young. So I'm not jumping completely off the Ian Anderson bandwagon at all. Patience is a virtue, and obviously the Braves could have easily probably done a Kyle Wright move with Ian Anderson if they didn't think that he had an idea and or fits in our plan some way somehow. And Perdomo, I gotta check that, but I think he has 4 or 5 years of control. Penn Murphy is an interesting one as well. I think he'll come back around the second half of the season. He had some nasty stuff with the Mariners, so that's an interesting piece to follow as well. Yeah, Kelnick, I think the jury's still out, but to be able to get 5 years of control of a guy he's only 24. I'm darn sure that he hasn't tapped into his potential yet. Yeah, I know the Braves are trying Ronaldo as a starter, but I mean that's just in spring training. But I think he'll be better in the Colin McHugh role. But I'll be glad to eat my words if he works out as a starter as well. But having hybrid pitchers is never a bad thing, especially because every time you think you have enough pitching, you need more. So hybrid pitchers are like gold. So that's my thought there. And the Marlins have a lot of starting pitching, so adding AJ Puck to starting again, maybe that'll work. I don't know. I do not know that for. I have no clue on that. Let me. Contracts. I'm trying to find. No, Strider will never be a closer. I think he prefers a starting role, and yeah, it would be killer, but that's not the plans, and it never has been the plan. I don't think, even though it's nice to think about, but I'm pretty pretty sure that Strider's options. I'm trying to see if Kelnick options. It doesn't. I can't find it specifically. I can't find it specifically, but I'm not sure if Kelnick has any options. I'll have that answer for you the next CassMac chat, which I will not be here for next Tuesday. I'll be traveling back. So I'll probably move it to next Thursday, maybe, or Friday. Thursday, probably Friday. I'll make it a CassMac Friday. But thanks for hanging. Talk next week. Hopefully there'll be more news for us to talk about, but somehow we were able to get an hour and 6 minutes. So that's awesome. But hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Helps out a lot. Thanks, guys. As always, go Braves. See y'all next Friday, probably, because I'm going to be on vacation for Tuesday, but can't wait. Yeah, I'll have the contract options question answered for you next week.